All right, we're recording. Coach Williams, thank you for joining the Zoom. We'll
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Doing good. I am assuming that Owen Buchanan's got a question, so let's go straight to him.
Good.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Hi, Owen.
I just want to make sure I said they tell me I've got a 5-second delay, so I wanted to say something first. So get on. Emmanuel's had 2 really strong offensive games in a row. Is that something that you really expect from him, or is it just in those games that's just the way the game came to him?
Well, here's the thing. If you start breaking down Olin how he scores, can he get 4 points from the free throw line? Obviously, thus far, he's been able to do that. Can he get 4 points from offensive putbacks? Thus far, he's been able to do that. He's I wouldn't necessarily say he's a prolific scorer, but he has the opportunity to be a very efficient scorer for us because of the ways that he can score. And so he's off to a good start. I think we did right in hindsight by not having him play game number 1. The last 2 games, he's been really, really good. And we just need him to keep taking those sorts of steps, not just offensively. He's so important to what we're trying to do on both ends of the floor. And I think that his presence has to be on the glass on both ends. We need him to be our leading offensive rebounder and our leading defensive rebounder. If he is, and we have some guys that are in competition for him in each of those 2 categories, whether that's Save or Marf or Aku, then that'll give us our best chance.
I wonder if you guys, if your thought is that you have a player or 2 that's going to be, quote, a go-to type of guy, or if this is a kind of team that is so balanced that maybe you don't know who's going to be the 20-point guy every night.
Not yet. I don't know, being respectful, Olin, I don't know if we have a guy that can get 20 a night. What we got to get to, whether it's 1A or 1B or it's dispersed evenly, so to say, what we have to get to is the consistency from all of those guys that would be in that group, whatever that group ends up being. And we're not at that point. Not being sarcastic, I understand we've only played 3 games in an 8-day span, but we need to find some consistency on both sides. But in any category, if we're talking about scoring, we need some consistency, not just from E-Man or Save. We need some consistency. Q and E-Man can't have 10 of our turnovers in game number 3. That's not good from an efficiency standpoint. We can't have Q be plus 20 scorer in game number 1 and then most of the game number 2 in foul trouble. So I understand it's early, but in order for us to have a chance to be consistent, we're going to have some consistency from those guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Chip Howard from Sports Talk.
Coach, what have you seen from TCU as you looked at them so far?
They play really, really fast. They have 2 extraordinary guards, number 22, number 1. Inside, number 21 is one of the best offensive rebounders in the country and one of the leading shot blockers in Division I. They play fast, maybe a little faster than you think. For over 40% of their shots have been from 3 thus far through 6 games, and they have 4 guys shooting over 40% from 3. So they're very potent offensively, and we'll have to do an incredible job, better than we've done in the first 3 games, of getting back in transition, because I think that's where they are lethal almost. And then we've got to do a better job than we've done thus far, Chip, of keeping those guys off the glass, because 21 averages 4 offensive rebounds a game. And then one of the things that their reasons they're so fast is 22's averaging 4 defensive rebounds a game, and number 1 through 6 games of his college career is averaging over 3 defensive rebounds. So when those guards get it, a defensive rebound, they don't have to pass it to anybody else, and they're going downhill. And so we'll have to get back in transition. Our ball pressure will have to be really good. We'll have to guard all of their ball screens. They set multiple ball screens per possession. And then we'll have to figure out a way to finish the possession with a rebound because they're so good on the offensive glass.
So normally, if your defense is predicated on being focused more in the paint and sometimes giving up threes, if you have a team that shoot threes that well, do you change a little bit from what you would normally do to defend?
No, sir. Our defense doesn't change. We tweak it relative to personnel, but relative to the principles that we follow and how we rotate and what our execution is specific to those principles, it doesn't change. Similar to what happened at Missouri last year, I think it also happened, maybe it was against Arkansas. You know, we hope that our defense forces even more threes, not less.
Thank you.
Next question is from John Wilson from KBTX.
Coach, what would you like to see from your team as you face now your first team from another Power 5 conference?
I would like us to play way, and that you can say way as many times as you want, harder. We show glimpses of it. I'm not saying we're not playing hard. We're just not playing as hard as we have to play. I think our guys understand that. We're not in a groove relative to the intensity at which we have to play with. And then the byproduct of that, and I think that's revealed in our turnover rate. I think it's also revealed on the glass. A byproduct of how hard we play has to include executing while playing incredibly hard. And so we've got to get those two things matched up, whether we play a Power 5 team at home or on the road. We're going to have to get that paired up so that we have some traction on what we're trying to do on both sides of the ball.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's move to Travis Brown from the Bryan College Station Eagle, and then Gabe Bach.
Hey, Coach. Curious, I know you have a little bit of history with Jamie. What's your relationship with him, and how have you seen maybe his coaching style progress from where he was at Pitt to now at TCU?
Yeah, I think we've played a Jamie Dixon coach team, Travis, 9 times. So this will be game number 10. Similar to the SEC, in the old Big East, it was an unbalanced schedule except for mirror opponents, similar to the ACC. So I think we didn't play them in year 6 at Marquette because the Big East had changed. And then when we went to Virginia Tech, by then Pitt was in the ACC. So I think it's 9 years we've competed against them, and we've played 9 games, I believe. But one of those years, Travis, they were a mirror opponent. And I think that occurred when we were at Virginia Tech. So this will be game 10 against the Jamie Dixon team. Tony Benford, who's their associate head coach, was with us at Marquette our first 4 years prior to being the head coach at North Texas. So I've known him for a long time, obviously, and I've known Jamie. I don't have a personal relationship with him, obviously. I think he was they've won the conference one time, and I think Jamie hit the shot to win it. And then I think he was on the last team. I think TCU in my lifetime is 1-4 in the NCAA tournament. I think they've been 4 times and won 1 game. And I think the one game, I think Jamie was a senior in college and was a very good player. So I know his story. I know he was in movies and commercials and things like that when he was young. Obviously did an incredible job working for Coach Holland at Pitt, was deserving of the job. And then you look at the consistency of his success at Pitt, it's the best tenure of any coach as far as what he was able to accomplish. And so I'm familiar with his story. We've competed against him. How they play Travis now is a little different than I look through some of my notes from our Pitt notebook. They play completely different than they did the last time we played them. So I think this would be Kevin Stallings was at Pitt 2 years. So I think I guess this has been 4 years since we played a Jamie Dixon team.
And then as far as your first real road travel, what's kind of the precautions and how challenging is it going to be to do this pandemic thing on the road for the first time?
Yeah, obviously we haven't done it. I think we have tried, like everything else in our program. We handle everything very seriously and try to think through things that are unseen. And so our administration and our support staff has been phenomenal in all of the processes and protocols. Obviously, how we travel is different. How we test is different. How's it going to work when we eat? How's it going to work if we watch tape? Can we watch tape? There's not going to be a shoot around. So we haven't done it, but I, as you know, if you're following this, you know, most of the issues that you're seeing in professional sports and in college athletics happen when you travel. And so we will be as protective and safe as we can possibly be, but we haven't done it yet. And so I don't really know how to answer the question, Travis, better than that. But obviously there's precautions in everything that we're doing every single day, whether we're in College Station or on the road. So we'll handle it as serious as we possibly can, as will our players.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Gabe Bach from Texags.
Hey, Buzz, maybe it's just wild plays that have caught my eye, but it seems like your bigs, you know, E-Man, and then we've seen some from Aku, some flashes, maybe Marfo, a play or two, have really done a good job of passing in there. Have you been pleased with your bigs and the way they're passing and sharing the basketball?
Yeah, you know, sometimes when big guys pass it, they're trying to be the example for the guards to pass it to them. And so it's kind of counterintuitive, but all three of those guys are very unselfish. I don't know that any of them would be considered high assist players, but I think their mentality is to try to make the right play for our team. And similar to what you just said, you can see the intent of their heart relative to trying to make the right play. I thought we did a better job in game 3 of getting the ball inside, which we have to become more effective in that, not necessarily to score. Hopefully we'll score some, but just to get the defense in rotation so that on the pass out, wherever the pass out is, hopefully it's a little bit of a fragmented floor, and that will allow our guards to keep the defense in rotation. So we need all three of those guys, Gabe, to be really, really good for those 40 minutes at the 5. And then obviously E-Man will play minutes not at the 5. But if those three guys could give us 60 to 70 minutes defending their position, getting guys in foul trouble / making free throws, and then also if they can create a shot for a guard or for one another, obviously that's icing on the cake.
I think it's a pretty good litmus test against Samuel because he might be legit 6'11". And do you think about sometimes just saying, look, we're going to just force him to get in some tough situations by playing E-Man down there, but then you're going to give up, obviously, the size. How do you go into a matchup like this, and how intriguing is this for future games you play in the SEC about how you'll use E-Man?
Yeah, 1,000%. You know, that was the conversation in 2-day prep this morning as we watched tape. I don't know exactly what the numbers will end up being, Gabe, but, you know, 21 has played a lot of minutes and will play as many minutes as he can play, in my opinion, against us and every game going forward for TCU. And I think he does a really good job of not putting himself in a position to get in foul trouble. He got in foul trouble in the first half yesterday against Providence. I think that changes their team. He realizes that. But like his ball screen coverage, how he defends the post, even I think he's averaging 2.5 block shots a game. And a lot of those are coming from the weak side. It's not like 21's guarding Gabe and he blocks Gabe's shot. 21 is guarding Gabe and he blocks Buzz's shot. And so he has a really good barometer for when to be in the fight relative to potential to get a foul and when not to be in a fight, and how he guards ball screens, even in how he rebounds. he's going to get to the weak side. Even if the ball is shot on his side, he does a really good job of he's running to the weak side to be in a position to get a rebound. And so much of the time, he's positioning himself to take his defender out of the play so that he has a chance to make the play. He's as good as I've seen in a long time of when he gets it, he immediately gets it high and he keeps it high, even on rebounds. I mean, he's rebounding the ball above his eyes and taking it to his chin, and then it's immediately back up. And so they've done an incredible job working with him because you can see the things that they spend time emphasizing and making a priority for him to be successful.
Thank you, boss.
All right, next we have 2 more questions on the queue. So we go to Brent Zwerneman and then Chip Howard.
Hey, Buzz, going back to the recruiting process with Hayden Hefner, what first caught your eye about him down there in Nederland?
I've known his high school coach, Brent, for forever. I think his high school coach, like others, he knows what he's doing. He coaches them. He does it for the right reasons in the right way. I knew who Hayden was prior to being hired here. We didn't recruit Texas very hard, but just because of the relationships, I think I tried to at least maintain some level of who's this guy and where's this guy and who was associated with who. Obviously, his parents are Aggies. I think, and I could be wrong, Brent, I think he's going to end up having a really good college career. He has a very high IQ. That's partly because he's played a lot. That's partly because he's smart. And I also think that that's partly how he's been coached. He was coached year round at Nederland, and then he was coached in the AAU program that he was a part of. Coach Harrison has always done a really good job and coaches his players really hard. And so he's not scared to be coached. And I think that's always a positive early in your career. He's just got to continue to spend time in the weight room, eat more calories than he burns, because he's picking things up at a very quick rate. And then anybody that has the skill set that he has, I think he's going to find how he gets his shots, when he takes his shots. But, we need him to be way more involved than what he currently is on the glass, particularly from a defensive standpoint. And he understands what we're trying to accomplish, Brent, defensively, but he just doesn't have the force, so to say. He doesn't have the physicality that he will have a year from now. And so these minutes that he has gotten and the minutes that he's going to get, like most freshmen, they're invaluable, and he's learning at a very quick rate. But we've just got to continue to allow him to progress. When I saw him, I kind of had some of those same thoughts. I thought when he shot it, he was going to make it. He didn't shoot bad shots, which helped when he shot it, I thought he was going to make it. I did not think he was soft. I wanted to figure out if he was tough. I absolutely love his grandmother and his mom, and you can tell that they raised him with some moxie. He's quiet by nature, but he is not timid. He's not mild. He's just quiet, and he's quiet because there wasn't a lot of oxygen in the house when his mom and grandmother were there, and he was raised to be quiet when the adults were speaking. But he's grown on me a lot in the 2 months that he's been here. And I told him last week, his mom had texted me, and I told him, I said, your mom said it was okay if I was mean to you. And so now that she's okayed it, I just wanted you to know. And he goes, Coach, you didn't have to ask her for permission. You saw that. So like that he's aware of that, I think is good.
Thank you, Buzz. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, sir. Happy Thanksgiving, pal. We need to live like that, right?
That's right.
Every time I say it, it convicts me, like answering all these COVID questions and, hey, what about Jamie? And what about TCU? And what about going on the road? And, you can get lost in all the minutia. And then you realize after all that we've been through for 9 months, we should just be thankful just for this, just to be able to do this Zoom. Like I literally am trying to have like the best attitude of all time with the media, because I should be thankful that I even have this chance to talk to the media. Because when I was growing up, I didn't know there was media. I thought I was going to be the high school coach in Van Alstyne. So I'm actually saying happy Thanksgiving, not to be sarcastic, but it's like a subliminal reminder to me that I need to be more grateful.
Amen to that. Thank you, Buzz.
Yes, sir, pal.
All right, we got one more question from Chip Howard at Sports
Buzz,
Talk.
to that end, a couple of coaches last week, including Coach K, came out and all but said, I think maybe we should shut down right now. Obviously, there's lots of opinions and we're in new territory, but how do you feel about that? Or how would you feel about that if they said, hey, we're just going to have to take a break for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks because so many teams are having can't play?
Yeah. So I'm not going to get on the imaginary soapbox that maybe I would have, nor even think that I should be in the mix with Coach K in regards to my opinion counting as much as his. This is what I would say, Chip, and this is as transparent as I could be. I think the first 100 days of this, I really struggled. I think I struggled like, who am I and what am I going to do since I can't go to work? I think I struggled trying to figure out how to be a better husband, how to be a better dad. And I got emotionally out of sorts on trying to figure out how to control the first ever pandemic I had been a part of. And then in that mix of time, I was hell bent on giving my opinion on all of these Zooms with all the smart people, with all the people that were making decisions. I wanted my opinion to matter. And the more I did that, the more twisted up I became in regards to, well, this person said this and that person said that. And then I began to judge, well, why did they say that? And they were saying it because it benefits them, but it's not right for us. And so I just stopped. I just quit partaking in it because it was making me worse, not better. And so what I've tried to do, Chip, to answer your question is this. If you, for some reason, trusted me to take care of your son or daughter, what would I do? And how would I do it? And then for some reason, if there was a Zoom camera in our gym or everywhere I went when your son or daughter was in my presence, but you were on mute, but you were watching and listening to what I was saying, you just couldn't say anything. While on mute, would you agree with what I was doing and how we were doing it? And so specific to all that we're trying to accomplish, I want the mothers and fathers of the children that trusted us. I want that what we do and what we say and how we treat them amidst all that's going on, I don't want it to be based on the result of the game against UTRGV or the game at TCU. I want to do what's right for their life. I want to do what's right for their heart. I want to do what's right for their soul. And I want to do what's right for their mental and physical health. And I think one of the things that I've learned as all of this is unfolding, one thing that doesn't get mentioned because everybody's wanting to watch these games on TV is we don't walk in their shoes. I don't think anybody grew up thinking that they were going to play college basketball during a pandemic, and the emotional and mental fatigue and exhaustion and trauma, even though that may not be the appropriate word, it's much more real than you imagine. And so this is what I'm for. I'm not going to make a decision based on a game. I want to make a decision based on what is best for their life, what is best for their heart, what is best for their soul. And I want history to judge how I handled this amidst COVID and amidst social injustice. I want history to judge my heart that I did right by their hearts, and that their parents look at what we tried to do and how we did it and said, man, thanks for taking care of my boy. And so this is all fragile, and it's much more fragile than what you guys will write, much more fragile than what you guys will tweet, and much more fragile than the exposure, because this is impacting every walk of life, including yours. That's why we're having a Zoom and you guys are at your house. It's impacting all of us. And so I want to keep my emotion pure, and I want my emotion to be, I need to do right by our staff and their wives and their children. I need to do right by my wife and my children. And I need to do right by the parents represented by their children that I see every day. And it doesn't need to be based on a game. It doesn't need to be based on the name of the jersey that we wear. It doesn't need to be based on how much money I get paid. It needs to be based on what's right for their life, so that when they are my age, they look back at this time that was unexpected and they go, man, that was a lot of stuff, but he did right by my life. That's probably enough before I get emotional, but you can record that, Chip, and tweet it out and say it's going to be on your radio show today. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Buzz.